Yep.
Cool.
All right.
Click on the two arrows down here.
Okay. I can just, you can go ahead.
Okay, you said you would pray first.
Oh, we're praying first.
Go ahead and pray.
All right, let's pray. Father, we thank you once again for bringing us all this here safely. We pray that you'll be with us as we go through this. I pray we pray. Amen.
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 I was so distracted.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. All right, so everyone in here already knows me, so I'll spare the introduction of myself. But pretty much my profession, I work in human resources. So not that I help people find jobs, but I help with the hiring process and onboarding process and things like that, and getting them started with the company. So I thought this would be a good idea to show you guys how to write a resume so that when you are ready, or if you're already looking for a job, that you can prepare yourself to land that interview for starting your recruitment process. So I have some handouts that I'll hand out later, but who in here can tell me what they know about a resume? Like, what is a resume?
Yeah, actually, your name.
Yeah, your name is on there, yes?
It shows you your special skills.
Yes, it does show you your special skills, excuse me. Yeah?
It determines if the employer wants to hire you or not.
Correct. It does determine if the employer wants to hire you or not. So pretty much a resume is like a summary of like your skill sets, your education. Pretty much it's you on a piece of paper, like what you have to offer the company that you're potentially trying to apply for a job with and interview with and hopefully be employed by them. So next, what are employers looking for in regards to your resume? They're looking for the fact that it's short and concise, meaning that it's not too wordy. You don't have like pages upon pages of just information. They want it to be quick, something easy that they can scan through and see. They want to see some type of organization, like that you're using the correct formatting. Different companies look for certain formats, and we'll go through that as well later in the presentation. Functionality, they want to make sure that it works, it makes sense. They want to see that you have the relevant job experience or educational experience. I know some of you are still in school, so soon you'll be going off to college. And let's say that you're trying to apply for like a certain, I guess, program. Some programs require that you have a resume to show them what you've learned in school, kind of like a transcript, so that they can see if you are qualified to enter into this either School of Business or School of Nursing. Like, it depends on the school that you go to. Also, the resume, employers are looking for like skills. They want to see that you have applicable skills to the job and that you're able to learn and gain new skills. So they want to see a growth in your resume. Also, they want to see that you participated in extracurricular activities. So like if you've done sports, been part of like a debate team, choir, anything, either church or at school, all of it's applicable. They want to see if you've done community service things as well, if you participated in the community. They just want to see that you're overall like well-rounded person. And most of all, they want to see you. So like I said in the beginning, the resume is like a summary of you on a piece of paper. So you have to be able to try and sell yourself in words. So you ask, how do I start? Like, how do I get an interview with this resume? So first, you're going to want to start with choosing the correct format. So there's 4 types of resumes or formats you can pick from. There's chronological, functional, and combination. So I will now pass out examples of each so you can see the difference. So first, I'm passing out an example of a chronological resume. And chronological, who in here knows the definition of chronological? Yes?
It's kind of like time in order.
Correct. Sarah?
It goes in order.
That's right. So chronological, yes, Nancy? Oh, you want to take, okay. Yeah, so chronological order shows, I guess, order, like we said, order in time. So you're gonna start with your most recent experience and then go backwards. As you can see, this person has, selects landscaping from May 2010 to August 2010, and then they have Philip L. Stropp residence from May 2009 to August 2009, and so on and so forth. So it's working from where you're currently working at and going backwards so they can see a chronological order. Does anyone have any questions on that? Yes, Nancy?
Prince said when people were answering questions, they should speak louder, because I think he's sharing that link with other people.
Okay, so Prince wants everyone to speak louder, I guess, when I ask questions or when you're answering them so that it can be recorded properly. And so that other people can hear it as well when we play this back. Next is functional. So no one has any other questions about the chronological one I shared? Okay.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does it matter if you go from most recent to like least recent, or is that the appropriate format, or can you go from like?
No, they want you to start from most recent and going backwards. They want to see where you're currently working and where you came from prior to that. So they're going to start from where you are now and then go backwards in history or back in time. Next is functional. So functional, this will be more applicable to, I guess, you all in the room that are currently students. This is different from chronological. It's pretty much more like a summary of what you've done. Like if there's been a lapse in time, if you haven't been working or you don't have that much experience in, I guess, maybe your career field or anything like that, this more helps you to just summarize your experiences and goes over all of that in like a summary format, very simple, straight to the point, as compared to chronological where there's dates involved and they want to see exactly what you've done. This one kind of helps students who don't have that much experience to kind of, you know, summarize what they've done in school, which research projects they've been a part of, what you participated in, what organizations you've been a part of. So if you see, as compared to the chronological order, there's no dates on this resume. There's completely no dates because sometimes some people will be working one moment and maybe stop and go back to school and then start working again. And there might be a gap in time where you can't account for any work history, and employers want to see a continuous, you know, length in time that you've been doing things. So if you don't have that going on, this may be a good option for you to choose to write your resume in this format. I personally, since I have some experience under my belt, mine's chronological, but functional, I would have used this if I was back in school. Any questions about that? Yes?
So you don't have to write a date, or can you write a date if you want to?
I mean, you can write dates, but it would be suggestive not to if you have gaps in time. So let's say I was working back in 2010, and then all of a sudden I stopped, went back to school, and I wasn't working until 2013. Employers are going to wonder why you took a break. And then instead of having that explicitly on your resume, because some employers, if they see that gap in time, they may throw your resume out. They may not even call you to come in for an interview or to even just have a phone screen. So to kind of cheat the system, I would say, so that they don't just automatically just like, you know what, throw your resume away, that it gives you a chance to at least get your foot in the door and be able to talk to somebody. So yeah, so it would be recommended if you're doing functional not to put dates. If you're doing chronological, that's perfectly fine because they want to see those dates on that format. Next is combination. So for combination is just what it means. It's a combination of all the different formats. So you'll see they will have some dates listed on this resume and some areas where there's no dates listed on the resume. And I'm not sure how many people really use combination. I've never done so, but I have seen it done a couple times, but it's very rare that you'll see somebody use this format because it gets kind of confusing. Like you'll see they put some dates down for when they did volunteer experience, but then their actual job experience, they left that blank. And again, this is just another way to kind of like cheat the system so that employers, again, don't throw your resume out. So it may work for you and it may not, but I've never tried this format before. But it's a combination of chronological and functional. Any questions on that? Okay. And then lastly, targeted. Targeted is very specific, straight to the point. You can have dates on this resume and you may not want to. It's up to you. Generally, targeted, you're really trying to capture a specific job or a specific job posting that you've seen. So you've only listed exactly the skill sets that apply to the job. So you won't add anything else unless it's relevant and it's bullet pointed. So you don't need a summary like functional. You don't really need dates like chronological. It's pretty much just targeted straight to the point, just the experience that relates to that job. And this requires like a lot more effort. You kind of have to really think and really write it well if you're going to use this format so that employers can pick up your resume from the bunch. Yes? Oh, you didn't go. I'm sorry. I thought I passed it to you. You're welcome. So, like I was saying, if you're going to use this format, you really have to think about it and really hone in on exactly what the job posting is looking for, what the employer, potential employer, is looking for. So as you can see, there's no date. They just did bullet point, and it's like straight to the point. Any questions on that? Okay, so for your resume, you're gonna wanna use standard font like Times New Roman, a Veranda or Arial size 10 or 12 font. Typically, your resume should not exceed more than a page, or some people go over and do 2 pages, which is fine, but I would recommend having just a 1-pager resume. Again, employers want to be able to find your experience and your education very easily. So making it too long for them, after scanning through, they'll probably just stop after the first page. So typically that's why they say to keep it under a page. Yes, Jolene?
What if it's your first job?
If it's your first job, that's where you might want to use the functional format and just list out like the activities you've done in school, like the research projects you've done, or the science fair projects you've participated in, or the different groups you participated in and what positions you held within those groups. Like for instance, I was in choir all through middle school, elementary school, and high school. And so I listed out the different levels of choirs I've been in. I started out at the lowest level, and then I went all the way up to concert choir, where we traveled and competed like in different states against other school choirs. So you could do that to show like the different levels that you've grown in a specific like group, like if you've done band, or if you're part of like the debate team, or the math and science program. I was part of that too. And I think some other schools call it special, was that gifted and talented? Yeah. So you could put that as well, that you've been part of that, and then put like, you got like, you know, honor roll, straight A's, like, and things like that. So if it's your first job, they just want to see that you've been active and doing something. So like you could put down you volunteered at school, or you volunteered at church, or, you know, you babysat or something, you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be like too much detail, like the chronological form or targeted. Functional would probably work best if it's your first job that you're going for. And then let's go to the next slide. So for the resume, you also want to use buzzwords. I apologize that it got cut off on the side there, but it says buzzwords, and pretty much you buzzwords are like specific words to like the job that you're hiring for that will allow a recruiter or an employer to be able to pick up your resume out of the rest. Sometimes some companies, they just use their system to look up specific words. They don't even look for like a name, a location. Like they'll just look for a specific word in your resume and find you that way. And then based off of that, they'll look at how many times that word appears in your resume to see if you really have that experience or that talent, and then we'll pull your resume out of the group for that. So when that happens, you really want to use specific words on your resume so that if you are applying for a job that is using that type of system, and unfortunately you won't really know, so it's recommended that you just use buzzwords in general. So like for HR, I have to use like different words like research, reporting, employee relations, things like that on my resume if I'm going for like a specific job that requires that. Or like if I'm trying to apply for like a benefits job, I need to make sure that I list the different types of benefits I've participated in for employees or things like that. And if you're just going for like maybe say a job at the mall, they may want to see that you have customer service skills. So that would be a buzzword. Or like able to relate with other people or diverse groups. Those are other buzzwords that you can use on your resume. Depending on which your job or the job that you're going for will determine what buzzwords you're going to use. So if you're going for like an IT job, you may want to use like Microsoft Office or Java or HTML. Like they look at all these things to see that you have experience in that, and they'll pull your resume based off of that. And then another thing about your resume, you want to make sure that your punctuation is perfect. Personally, I can't stand it when I see misspelled words on a resume, and I can't stand it when I see like punctuation off or like the wrong tense. Like if you're using past tense for your resume, I should see that throughout. I don't want to see created reports and then the next time I just see create reports. Like I want it to be consistent. If you're going to use present tense, make sure all of it's present tense. If you're going to use past tense, make sure all of it is past tense. Whenever I see a lot of mixture in words and tense and punctuations, I end up just throwing the resume out because I feel like if you didn't take the time to invest in your resume to sell yourself, then why should I invest my time to even talk to you and call you on the phone for a potential job? So, and a lot of people do think like this, like in HR and recruiters and things like that. So make sure that your resume is in perfect condition. If you're not sure, it's always good to have a second pair of eyes look at your resume. So review, edit, then edit some more. Even if you think your resume is perfect, just have someone else take that extra glance will be good, and it will just help to build that resume even more. So you can visit the Campus Career Center. I can't stress that enough. When you go to college, like the Campus Career Center should be your best friend. That's where I got my first internship. So if you are trying to get your foot in an office job or just any job, your Career Center will have a lot of job opportunities that you can look into because and most employers are looking for recent grads and things like that. You can also use your friends, church members, teachers, families, and or an expert. If you just know someone who's an expert in this, you can also pick their mind and have them read it and take a second look at it. Golden rules for to build a resume or to write a resume, make sure that it's tailored to the role that you're applying for. If you're applying for customer service role, I don't want to see words about HR in there. Or if you're applying for an IT role, you shouldn't have words about like retail and things like that. Make sure it relates to the job you're applying for, because if it doesn't match or make sense or seem related in any way, employers will throw your resume out. Also, make sure you do research. So if let's say you're writing your resume, make sure that you're doing the research to make sure that you're catering your background and your resume to this job. And also make sure you research the company that you're applying for to see what they are also looking for. And then you can also type in some of those things in your resume. Make sure that your resume, again, is short and concise. Keep it to 1 page. 2 pages is okay, but typically they don't look past that. And then check and check and check again. Just keep revising it, making sure that all the edits are correct. Make sure that your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. So examples of good and bad resumes. So I was going to add slides about different resumes here, but I'm just going to summarize it. So a bad resume, you never want to like lie on a resume. I can't stress that enough. Some people do that a lot. Just because they're desperate to get a job, they'll add more stuff to their resume so that the employer will look at them. But then we bring them into the interview, we ask them questions, and then that's when we can really see that they don't know what they're talking about. So make sure that you don't lie on your resume, because it will just embarrass you and waste the employer's time as well as yours. Also, make sure that, again, you're not making it too wordy. You don't want it to be too long. You're not writing a novel or a book, so make sure it's short. Also, don't include photos. I've been seeing that a lot lately. People put like a little picture of themselves on their resume. The reason why you don't want to put a picture of yourself is because the employer has the potential to subconsciously maybe discriminate against you. So we recommend that you don't put your picture on there for any reason. Like, you don't want the employer to just develop some type of reason or feeling based off of how you look as to why they don't want to bring you in for an interview. Next, don't use like abbreviations or just weird language. Like nowadays when you're texting, you know, you want to put LOL, a smiley face and things like that. Don't put that on your resume. I've seen that before, so don't do that. That will definitely get your resume thrown out. Also, like I said, don't mix tenses. If it's going to be past tense, make sure it's all past tense. If it's going to be present, make sure it's present. And then also avoid writing in first person. So for instance, for the summary statement or the objective statement, which states what you're looking for, either what you're looking for in the job or it's like a brief summary about you, don't use first person. You typically want to write in third person. And if you're not sure how to do that, I can talk about that more later offline, but avoid doing that. Good resumes would avoid all of this. So make sure that you don't do any of those things, because it would just, yes.
First person or third person?
You want to write in third person, not first person. Yeah.
So is it 2 pages like a hard and fast rule? Or like, let's say you did a lot of things and you want to put it in there?
It's not a hard and fast rule. Mostly people who have like lengthy resumes are like executives, because they've done a lot and they're at that high level where they need to show like what they've done as an executive over time. But if you're like entry level or mid-level, like just starting in your career, you really should not have more than a page or two. Like I said before, employers, they're gonna just look through like the first couple of pages or the first page at that. Just because of time, like they have to go through a lot of people, a lot of resumes. So keeping it short would be my best recommendation. But if you have extra experience that does relate and you feel like it would just give you that extra edge, by all means, put it in. You don't want to jeopardize yourself if you feel like it will help. But if it's not going to help and it's just extra fluff, it's not really needed. And then lastly, thanks for participating. Now I'll take more questions and answers. If you have any more questions, I can answer them. If not, if you remember some later on, I see you guys at church, so I can answer it then. Yes, Sarah?
What do you mean by writing third person?
Okay, so first person is using I, me, and things like that. For third person, you want to use like she, he. You don't want to use I, just because that's just a rule that I was told, to be honest. When I was starting to write my resume, when I was in business school, that was just a rule that they gave us. So it's just an underlying rule of writing like your resume to use third person instead of first. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
So what's the difference between a CV and a resume?
There really isn't much difference between the two. They're actually interchangeable. CV is actually a European phrase of how to call a resume, and then America just changed it to resume. So, you know, there's no difference. Yeah. Is that all? Okay, thanks.
for the resume?
Yeah, do anybody else have a
I'm
resume?
good.
You really like Carol? You have one? So if you have one, you can always send it to Marian and she can like look through it.
Yeah, I can provide you,
Stop Rochester.
I stopped,
Did you?